There was once a merchant who had much wealth and did business in various cities. One day he mounted horse and set forth to recover monies from certain towns, and the heat pressed heavily upon him. So he sat beneath a tree, and putting his hand into his saddlebags, took out some broken bread and dry dates, and began to eat. When he had finished eating the dates, he threw away the stones with some force. Suddenly there appeared before him an Ifrit, huge of stature and brandishing a drawn sword, who approached and said,
"Stand up that I may slay you, even as you have slain my son."
The merchant asked in terror,
"How have I slain your son?"
and the Ifrit answered,
"When you ate the dates and threw away the stones, they struck my son full in the breast as he was passing by unseen, and killed him on the spot."
Verily from Allah we come, and to Allah we return. There is no majesty and no might save in Allah. If I slew your son, I did so by chance. I pray you now, pardon me.
"There is no help for it, but I must slay you."
Then he seized him and threw him to the earth, raising the sword to strike. The merchant wept and said,
I commit my case to Allah.
and began speaking to the Ifrit.
Oh, mighty one, I have debts due to me and much wealth and children and a wife. Permit me to go home and settle my affairs, discharge to every man his claim, and set my house in order. I will then return to you at the head of the new year. Allah is my witness that I will come back to face your justice.
The Jinni took sure promise of him and let him go. The merchant returned to his own city and conducted his business, settling his debts and informing his wife and children of what had befallen him. He appointed a guardian over them and dwelt with them for a full year. Then he arose, made ablution to purify himself for death, took his shroud under his arm, and bade farewell to his people and neighbors and all his family. He went forth despite his loved one's protests, and traveled until he arrived at the same garden on the appointed day. As he sat weeping over his fate, there came an old man leading a chained gazelle. The old man saluted him and asked what caused him to sit alone in this place, which was haunted by jinn. The merchant related his story, and the old man said,
By Allah, your faith is great, and your tale is strange. I will not leave you until I see what comes to pass.
They had not sat long when a second old man approached them, leading 2 black greyhounds. After hearing the merchant's tale, he too decided to stay. Then came a third old man with a she-mule of bright bay coat, and he also remained to see the outcome. Soon the air grew thick, and a dust cloud appeared. The Jinni emerged from it, holding his drawn sword, eyes shooting fire sparks of rage. He came up to them, and, seizing the merchant, cried,
"Arise that I may slay you, as you slew my son."
The merchant and the 3 old men began weeping. Then the first old man came forward and kissed the Jinni's hand, saying,
O crown of the kings of the Jann, if I tell you the story of myself and this gazelle, and you find it marvelous, will you give me a third part of this merchant's blood?
Even so. If your tale is indeed wondrous, I will grant you a third of his blood.
And so the first old man began his tale.
Know that this gazelle is the daughter of my uncle and my own flesh and blood. I married her when she was young, and we lived together for 30 years, but Allah blessed us with no children. So I took a concubine who bore me a male child, fair as the full moon. When the boy was 15 years old, I had to journey to certain cities on business. Now my wife had learned sorcery in her childhood. While I was gone, she bewitched my son, transforming him into a calf, and she transformed his mother into a heifer, giving them both into the herdsman's keeping. When I returned and asked for my son and his mother, she told me the mother had died and the son had fled. I mourned for a year. Then came the great festival, and I sent to my herdsman for a fat heifer to sacrifice. He brought me one, my son's mother, though I knew it not. When I was about to slaughter her, She wept bitter tears. Moved by pity, I told the herdsman to bring me something else. Then bring me a fat calf, I said. He brought my son, still enchanted. When the calf saw me, he broke his tether and came to me, fawning and weeping. Again my heart was moved, and I refused to sacrifice him despite my wife's urging. The next day, my herdsman came to me with wondrous news. His daughter, who had learned magic from an old woman, had looked upon the calf and recognized that it was a bewitched human, my own son. She had also discovered that the heifer I had nearly slaughtered was his mother. I went at once to the herdsman's house. His daughter promised to restore my son if I would marry him to her and allow her to bewitch my wife in return. I agreed gladly. She spoke words over the calf, and my son returned to his human form. Then the young woman transformed my wife into this gazelle, saying her shape was fair and not hateful to look upon. After the herdsman's daughter died, my son went traveling, and I took this gazelle and have wandered with her from town to town, seeking my son, until I came to this place today.
The Jinni marveled at the tale and said,
I grant you a third of this merchant's blood.
Then the second old man stepped forward with his 2 black greyhounds.
O Lord of the Jann, if I tell you what befell me from these 2 hounds, my brothers, and you find it more marvelous still, will you grant me a third of his blood?
Yes.
And the second old man began.
These 2 greyhounds are my brothers. When our father died, he left us each 1,000 gold pieces. I opened a shop with my share, as did my brothers. But my eldest brother sold his goods and traveled abroad with a caravan. He was gone a whole year, and when he returned, he was penniless. I shared my wealth with him, giving him half of all I had. The same thing happened with my second brother. After some years, my brothers urged me to travel with them. I refused at first, but finally agreed. We equipped ourselves and set sail. At sea, we were joined by a beautiful woman whom I rescued from the shore. Unknown to me, she was a Jinni who had fallen in love with me. My brothers, consumed by jealousy, cast us both into the sea while we slept. The Jinni saved me and revealed their treachery, then flew me safely home. Later, as I sat in my shop, 2 black dogs came to me. They were my brothers, transformed by the Jinni as punishment for their crime. She ordered me to strike them each day for 10 years. The time is nearly complete, and that is why I travel with them thus.
The Jinni said,
This is indeed a strange tale, and I grant you a third of the merchant's blood.
Now the third old man approached with his bright bay mule.
O Sultan and head of the Jann, this mule was my wife. I went away for a year, and when I returned, I found her with a black slave. When she saw me, she sprinkled me with enchanted water and turned me into a dog. I wandered until I came to a butcher's shop. The butcher's daughter, who knew magic, recognized what I was. She gave me water to sprinkle on my wife, along with the words to say. I returned home and found my wife asleep. I sprinkled the water upon her and said, Come forth from that form into the form of a mere mule. And so she became this mule you see before you.
The Jinni shook with pleasure at these tales and said,
I have given you all the merchant's blood in punishment. For your sake, I release him completely.
The merchant embraced the old men and thanked them. The 3 sheikhs rejoiced and went their way, and the merchant returned to his family, who welcomed him as one risen from the dead. The merchant lived out his days in gratitude, and the tale of his deliverance became known throughout the land, a testimony that even in the darkest hour, mercy may be found and stories can save lives. Now the tale passes to the fisherman and the Jinni.